Hold on, 5, 4. Oh, we're live.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
Welcome to the Lost Dollar Business Club, where we talk about business, and not just business. We talk about what makes businesses go up and what makes businesses go down. If you're interested in businesses, this is where it is. We talk about the global economy. We talk about global politics. We talk about everything and anything business related that affects your life on a global scale as well as a local scale. And don't miss after the show, Lost and Found.
Are we on?
We are. As they say, live, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's the end of democracy. I think that's what our title says, or it says in the description.
Well, it sounds like there's a risk of that. Biggest,
where do you want to begin?
Only in America. Nobody else cares. But
wait a minute, it is 4th of July, even though it'll be rebroadcasted on July 5th. Because of 4th of July, let me just do this. There you go. Celebrating a little bit of fireworks.
Yeah.
Celebrate America.
Yeah. Well, I just thought I was going to congratulate you all, but as I've said before, on many occasions, if the US had been any good, the Brits would have kept it. So I'll just throw that one in there.
Okay, all right. Yeah, like all the other colonies, right?
Yeah, we kept them. Right. We kept them. Squeezed that.
You didn't keep Thailand. You didn't keep India. I can go through the list. You didn't keep Canada. We just keep going. You didn't keep the BVI.
We squeezed 11 and then we left.
Okay, just checking out
you'll squeeze and leave.
It's good old colonialism.
Sounds like a girl I used to know.
Squeeze it and leave it.
So we have a whole bunch of stuff. I guess we should start off with what's really relevant, which will be the big beautiful bill. We got some stuff to talk about Meta.
I thought the Meta's stable AI purchase was, or circus rather, was the most relevant topic of the day, wasn't it?
However you want it. Well, listen, it's your show, my friend. You pick it. We'll go with it. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on.
We've got a lot to cover. But on July 4th, we should start with American politics, and because the business world will be dramatically forever changed by the big, beautiful bill.
And so will poor people.
Yeah. So shall we have let's go a big, beautiful commercial then, and then we can get
okay. Paying a difference.
Let's do a commercial.
Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bandicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bandicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club.
Hey, that's us, by the way, the Lost Dollar Business Club.
I'm a bit concerned about your revolution, Michael.
Yes, well, I know there's a lot of risk there now.
Yeah, we may have to redo that commercial. We may have to take out the word revolution.
we might, because if you look at the FT, do you need a plan? Do you need a plan B?
Hold on, let me put that. Let's go. There you go. That's close up.
Oh yeah. There we go.
There you go. House and garden. Seriously, house and garden. Boy, there you go.
It's in the house and home section.
I know. I do the electronic FT because as much as I like the pink paper, it's just easier on the fly. Plus, when I'm on my phone, I get all their alerts telling me that the world's coming to an end, along with the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and Bloomberg. So when I see it from all of them, I'm like, the world's coming to an end. Good to know.
The fact is, a lot of Americans in all persuasions are planning for Plan B in some way. Yeah. I mean, you've got the super rich who've been building bunkers for God knows how long, but you've even got the middle class now looking for escape plans to Portugal and other parts of Europe and Southeast Asia, and the article talks about this Plan B for not just the super rich, but a lot of professionals. So
yeah.
And it mentions, by the way, our phrase from our good friend Guy Standing, the new precariat of the American professional classes.
Wow. We're ahead of the FT. The FT, they should just take credit.
Exactly. They've been watching the shows, guys. That's how it is.
They have been watching. So, but I mean, it makes a lot of sense, and it's also very unfortunate because of all the disruption it seems that the new president seems to be causing.
Well, there was an article yesterday. I want to say it was either in the Journal or the FT, and one of the lawyers that was involved with a very famous case for the Clintons was saying that Trump is just tearing apart the judicial system. And I was like, okay, I see that. I mean, so really America now is no different, in my opinion, than Russia or any of these other countries. We have a little bit of freedom, but that's slowly taking away.
Better hamburgers. Better hamburgers, I think.
Yeah, not really if you tasted them. So it's getting worse day by day. And I'm not sure what the end game is unless he just wants to be a dictator. You know what I mean? It says, I don't understand the end game. I mean, his family's making a ton of money on crypto, which we'll talk about later. Yeah. So I'm not really sure what the thing is here.
I don't understand why you would, what is the transfer of wealth away from the bottom 20th percent of the population? What's the deal with that? Why would you do that when they already have almost no wealth at all?
Because you get rid of them. That's why they're getting rid of the Medicaid now. There was a lady that I watched an interview with. She said if she didn't have Medicaid, she would die because she's an invalid, and the nurse that comes in helps her and changes her, and she can't work, right? Under this plan, apparently, she's like, I lose Medicare. She says, I'll be dead in 3 months. So for the 11 million people that are going to get kicked out of Medicaid, this is going to be, listen, if he wants a civil war, this is a good way to get it going. I mean, you can't kick
excuse me, Stephen, but was I correct in thinking that this was not going to happen until after the primaries? It won't kick in, will it, the bill? So that's a way of sort of making sure
doesn't
that
matter.
all the
Doesn't
it
matter.
does, doesn't it? It does, because if it really affects people, it won't. The people will be re-elected.
It doesn't matter because the Republicans are going to get themselves screwed. The other problem with the bill is, and I sent that link to you guys about the Yale budget office, how they look at the bill nonpartisan and go through. This is going to add, as Elon Musk said, and I can't believe I'm agreeing with him on anything, that this is going to add like trillions and trillions of dollars long term to the debt. It's not really helping anything.
Right.
They didn't put one of the senators talked about we should have a special tax, and I agree with this. If you're making over $25 million a year or more, you should pay a 1% or whatever the tax was going to be to help fund all these programs, right? Because you have, whether you're making 25 million or 25 billion. And I'm like, I agree with that because the wealthy should take care of the less fortunate. Not that they should be laying on the couches and eating bonbons, but I'm talking about the less fortunate. But you have to take care of these people, and the fact that we're not. Okay, if we're not going to take care of them, listen, then let's just do what you really want to do. Let's just go back to the 30s. Should make a camp or just have them gunned down in the street, call it a day, clean it up. I mean, that's really where you're heading this. What are they going to, you're not going to help them. You're not going to feed them. You're not going to do, okay, what do you want to do with them? Get rid of them. Put them in a camp or gun them down. Let's get done.
There's something in the American psyche, though, isn't it? This is the thing that as a European, I don't quite understand. Okay. Is that the American dream is work hard, play hard, be successful, earn your money, and everybody's happy that you're successful, that you're doing really well. But the moment that somebody says, "Oh, sorry, excuse me, could you pay a little bit extra tax from that money that you work for?" Right. All of a sudden, you'd be accused of being a communist. Yeah. And oh no, we can't do that. We can't pay. So, I mean, it's only going to be a big, beautiful. I'm going to call it big, beautiful William. It's only going to be a big, beautiful William in the US of A, if everybody is happy. And this.
Well, even
whole which you guys are going, it's almost as if, I mean, I'm starting to see references here. I mean, I've been shouting about, Michael, shouting about getting your brown shirts now from Amazon for the last year and a half. But, we're now hearing noises in Europe where people are saying, oh my God, this is like the 1930s. So the world is slowly waking up to it, even apart from cynical people like myself and Stephen. But, it's Europe seems to be waking up to that fact, but nobody in America seems to, have any idea of that this pressure cooker is starting to really boil. I don't know how you guys experience that on a daily basis.
Well, Martin Luther King talked about it in 1967, asking the question, why are there 40 million poor people in America? And that was even, now it's certainly even worse. The disparity, the wealth disparity is even worse than it was back then. But it's an absolutely fair question at a time when even you've got tiny local papers talking about tariffs because they're affecting the small producers in upstate America, which most of the people up here voted for this administration. So, so now everybody's asking, well, what is going on, and why are there so many poor people in America all across the way? And this is exactly why it happens, is because this is one of the biggest transfers of wealth, it appears to be, in recent times, especially to the military industrial complex, which it appears that defense spending will go up dramatically. In addition to making ICE the Immigration Enforcement Bureau, make them a much larger by 10 times bureau in the government. Those are
I think the whole budget. I mean, the whole of Europe's. We're on a war footing now. So, you have this thing like people go, oh, whoopie-doopie-doo, we can make tanks and all sorts of stuff. And so everybody, the industry's really starting to click in and pick up. Nothing like a good war. Then it would seem, or the approaching war to justify. I don't know how the Americans how you guys can justify, your defense budget. I mean, Trump's always going on about the 5%. America hasn't paid 5% into NATO forever, and they're hardly ever likely to either. So,
the problem is
disparity there.
The problem is going to be this. The problem is going to be this. Most of the American public are ostriches, right? Their head is in the sand. They don't know. It doesn't affect them. So, to your question earlier, why don't people want to pay more? Like, why don't we tax people that are making $25 million, an extra 1%, so they can pay for these programs? Is because when I do that, if I'm Congress or the senators, they're not going to write me checks. So this way, the rich people will still write me checks, and I'll get in, and I can crush the little people. Rural hospitals apparently are going to be affected by this. I mean, there's all these things that are going to start trickling down. To your point, where it doesn't kick in until next year or the year after, it doesn't matter. All these people are aware of it. So whether people start complaining about it now or then, it makes no difference. What'll happen is when it starts, that's when you have to worry. And so there's no, like I said, a lot of what Trump wants to do, and Roland, I've said this on his show, we agree with a lot of his. I like this. This makes a lot of sense. I don't like the way they implement it because there's no thought to it. It's like a bull in a china shop. It's like, let the bull run in the field. No, let's put him in the china shop. So if they gave thought to it and did it more methodically, you can do everything you want to do, and it would be okay. The way you're doing it, though, makes us look, like we're a fascist country, like we have a dictator, we have a king, but it's not America anymore. We joked about, on Sermon on the German this morning, like it's America, and that's a different America. Like, I remember America was the land of the free and the brave and whatever. We're not that anymore. We're something else. Well, and that's going to be what the problem is going to be.
I don't know. It's hard to say that we're not that, because there's a lot of people who, I think most people are actually reasonable that they have no voice in elected government because elected government for decades has ignored reasonable voices. on both sides. It's not even one side or the other, because the extremism has happened on all sides of the equation. And two, yes, I'm in upstate rural New York, but when I talk to people, most people seem very reasonable and point at the same issues that we talk about on the show, right. But they again have no voice in any influence, in any influential level where it matters. And the problem has always, part of the problem has always been this concentration of power that we've talked about before, and the concentration of wealth, Citizens United, which we brought up many years ago. And the reaction to all of this is, it's not enough. It's not enough to protest when the people pulling the strings and affecting the law have carte blanche to do what they will.
And it also doesn't help that the Democrats are pussies.
You said it.
So you think you guys are stuck in this two-party system then? Because I remember what was it, the Tea Party? That was all good. That was going to change America.
No, that was a whole different thing. That was when they would bring biscuits to your house and you'd have tea. They didn't really do anything.
Okay. And of course, Musk as well was saying, I'll put up other candidates as well. So
Trump wants to deport him. Literally, Trump wants to deport him. There's an article in the FT talking about Trump and Musk's love affair. That if this new tax bill, the reason Elon's so upset is because it takes away all the subsidiary money. Thank you for electric cars and EVs and all that. So they're done. And so Trump's comment was, well, maybe Musk will just go back to where he came from. And I'm thinking, well, you're deporting everyone else. And technically, Donnie, he didn't get here legally because it's student visa. You could just deport him whenever you want. But you see,
he's got an American passport now, as you know.
It doesn't matter because he got here technically illegally. And the issue is, so here's how I would look at this. The reason you're not going to deport Elon Musk back to South Africa, one, South Africa doesn't want them. They've already called and they said, please don't sell them. Two is that if you deport the richest man in the world, what does that say? Like, it's okay to, Mary Ann, who works in the restaurant in that little town we talked about, or a bunch of guys that are standing around Home Depot or gang members. That's okay. Like, nobody gives a shit about them. You deport Elon Musk, watch, then there's an uproar. This could be like, what, then it's like,
they won't directly do it, will they? They won't directly do it.
They would have to directly do it. They would.
Well, no. He'd have to go down to the alligator Alcatraz first, and get,
Oh, stop! No one's going down there.
Have a bunk bed. But guys, seriously, like if you've spent $250 million or maybe even more to put a particular person into power, you may already know where quite a few of the skeletons are buried. So is that not his safety net? Okay, no. He might sort of chip away and say, well, I'll take your subsidy from this, I'll take your subsidy away from that, or cancel a gig with NASA, which is great because it means you guys will only be able to fire a few teeny weeny little rockets into space, and because so they're leaning on him not just because he's got his fingers in a lot of things that America wants to do. And I think that
he's got the American spirit. I can't believe I'm saying that. He does. He's like an adventurer. Yes. He wants to go and do. He's like Edison or Tesla, not his car, but Tesla. I mean, he's a dick otherwise, but his mentality about we can do. He's not that American spirit, and that's awesome. So, listen. At the end of the day, there's more than we'll ever know. And we invite Elon on the show all the time. And even on Roll Show, he never shows up. I understand you're scared of us, but one day you'll come on the show. But it's just interesting that, these things that Trump's passing, even people that are billionaires are going, ooh, really? I mean, they're very happy that they don't have to pay this tax. But a lot of them are like quietly moving stuff outside the United States because they're not sure what's going to happen. And now Peter Thiel,
a lot of Americans moving here,
Peter Thiel just Peter Thiel just started a bank with a bunch of Silicon billionaires that we've placed Silicon Valley Bank. So apparently there's a group of them that are going to keep everything here. There's people moving out. There's people moving in. Trump sold 70,000 $5 million gold cards. to become an American citizen. So people want to be here because they like Trump. They like what he's doing. And one of the things we're going to talk about we talk about now, Pakistan's over here on their knees going, hey, listen, we can do crypto with you. We can do data mining. We can set up crypto mines. We can do everything we can do for you, Mr. Trump, because they want stuff from us. So, it's like they're all kissing the king's ring. And so, it's like I keep saying, whether there's an election in 28 or not, I have no idea. But I'm going with no.
You asked for topics for the show, and there's one thing which is noticeably not been spoken about. But it would seem, that Mr. Trump said he was going to stop all the wars. What's happening? Why has he not done it? Why has he not done it?
What war though?
The Ukraine. He was going to finish that. He wouldn't even have started it.
Well, he's very upset. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal today. He's very, very upset with Putin.
Because he's last night European time, they dumped the biggest amount of drones and intercontinental ballistic missiles onto Kiev, because all you could see this morning on the news was just like clouds of smoke across Kiev. And Mr. Trump has now said, I think he said, well, I don't think Vladimir's going to listen to what I did ask him very nicely. Please don't do it. But so he's not listening. He's not listening. The Middle East is not listening.
No, here's the problem. Let me quote.
And you guys are going to drop a few more of those mythical bombs that nobody could confirm whether
7 hours ago. Here's 7 hours ago. Donnie, this is what Donnie said. Uncle Donnie said 7 hours ago. Trump said he's very disappointed with Putin with the conversation on the Ukraine. He is disappointed.
Shocking.
That's bad boy. So there you go.
Shocking.
That's from
he said right from the get-go, he's my mate. We go everywhere. We've done everything. If I pick up the old dog and bone and say to him, hey, come on, Vlad, stop all the bombs. He's going to do it because he's my mate. And he's just played him for the clown that he is.
Or the orange man. Michael, let's talk about Meta. Let's talk about Meta because they've broken.
Meta spent a lot of money. They spent a lot of money on a clown show of a company.
Oh wait, there's another thing with Meta too. We're going to talk about two things with Meta, and this one's even funnier. Just so you know, Meta's AI climate tool raised false hopes of CO2 removal.
Tell people what it is.
So the Meta has been accused of faulty data to train artificial intelligence climate tool. The scientists claiming that the big tech group raised the false hopes and feasibility by removing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which they didn't. So basically, they said that this tool can do it, and it basically gave inaccurate data to identify materials that can attract carbon dioxide from the air. So a mega story in the Financial Times a couple of days ago, and the professor at Georgia Tech, AJ Medford, is the one who authored the paper that said, "What, are you joking?" So, and I think he wanted to say something more than "Are you joking?" But yeah, so that was just wild. So Meta's
making some mistakes here. Big mistakes.
Tell them about yours.
Is this company they tried to buy and then they rejected it? Is that what it was? They tried to buy some AI company I was reading.
No, they did buy an AI
it's
company.
A joke.
They bought Scale AI, which they're thinking Scale AI was a company to basically tag information so that AI would know what it is, and they would tag it theoretically using experts in the field to say this information is that and whatever. But the problem is the people who are running Scale AI did not have any checks and balances for who these so-called experts were to do the tagging. And Meta somehow ended up paying $14 billion to acquire Scale AI. And then they realized, or at least there was an expose in Inc. magazine accusing them and saying, Scale AI is not what you think it is.
Because I read maybe a story that was running up before then, because I understood that the first offer that they made was rejected, and so therefore, Meta then, because there's lots of venture capital in this Scale AI, And then Meta bought the venture capital company that was invested into Scale AI to kind of backdoor the deal to make sure they were going to get them, which made me chuckle somewhat. So,
I mean, it's a weird time for AI, because people are just going crazy over it, and we've said it on this show too. That is this even real AI? I saw on LinkedIn, I shared with you that post of a guy who's claiming to do cognitive AI, but because of Cheryl and other reasons, we've talked about this concept of cognitive AI, which is an AI that actually thinks as opposed to just statistically generates the next word.
Well, here's what's interesting about this $14 billion screw up. And Marky, we know you watch because you text us all the time and you're still a douchebag. Here's the problem with it. It's no different than when FTX was running around and the Singaporean government and all these hedge funds put money in. It's no different when people gave Bernie Madoff money. People don't think, they don't do due diligence. And the reason is because when you have $1 trillion, $14 billion to you is 1 day of interest. You don't give a shit. It's like, we made a mistake. Who cares? Whatever. We'll write it off. So next year we'll pay less taxes. We're going to write off a $15 billion or $14 billion loss. And that's the problem, is that the numbers become so astronomical that they're not real. You know what I'm saying? Even that Elon Musk is worth 200 billion or 500, whatever his magical number is, don't care. But it becomes to a point where it's just not a real number anymore. So the problem with Facebook, Meta, whatever the hell you want to call it, is their leadership. The problem is no one does real due diligence. And then when you get little companies like a Hero AI or these other little companies that we talked about, nobody looks at them because why? Because nobody from Silicon Valley knows who they are. Really get your head out of your asses and go do some research, get in a car, get in a plane and go talk to these people. But they don't, because they don't want to leave their little glass towers. They don't want to leave their friends. They don't want to leave their mistresses. They don't want to leave their girlfriends. They all just want to sit around there and circle jerk each other. So this is the problem that you have when Meta does something stupid like this. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's terrible. But nothing's going to happen. There'll be no shareholder lawsuit. There'll be no this. The management's not going to change. Nothing. Because people, like I said, they're ostriches, and Silicon Valley doesn't give a rat's ass. And Zuckerberg, what's he care? What's he got? What's he worth? We'll say 50 billion. What's Facebook, like 600 or 700 billion? Big deal. Like I said, they'll write it off next year. They'll pay less tax. Yeah. So that's the problem to it. No one thinks anymore. No one says, hey, listen, let's pretend, even though we have $1 trillion in cash, let's run ourselves like we're a $100 million company and every penny actually counts. Oh, wouldn't that be a novel idea, that if you actually ran your company like that, you'd actually make more money, more impact, do better things, not just for the company and your employees, but for society as a whole. Instead of running it as like, look at us, we're the big swinging dicks in the room. And that's what's going on.
We'll just call it the American disease then, because it's the same way as you guys run the country.
Oh, stop it. We run it worse.
Yeah, same thing. We'll run up the debt. Who cares? Kick the can down the road for tomorrow or in the long run.
You know what? Because David said that we're going to put the Americans on top of the Europeans. There you go.
Well, as ever, we're supporting you. As you should.
So I think it's very interesting. The meta, this whole week had so many articles about them just screwing up. I was just like, you got to be kidding me. Like,
well, it's
their week.
It's a big bet, and for a company that was supportive of Google, right. Google hired Scale AI so that they could catch up to ChatGPT, and have they? I mean, that's questionable. But now Zuckerberg wants to improve his llama model, and so it's the race of the models.
Yeah,
the race of the models to see who can make the best.
Yeah, if they were supermodels, it would be worth watching.
Yeah, say who wants to watch? All llamas do is spit at you, and that's kind of the gig that's happening.
That's what's going on. Here's the other problem. Exactly. I was talking to someone yesterday who runs a hedge fund. There's $14 trillion of dry powder just waiting to make an investment, and a lot of them are like, AI is cute, but it's out of whack. You know what I mean? It's like too expensive because no one's proving anything, and then little companies. Like he said, what we were talking about, Hero and a few others, they're not like it's too much work to write a $2 million check. You know what I mean? Whether I write a $2 million or a $200 million one, it's the same amount of work. It's a lot of work. So they rather find something further along. But at the end of the dialogue, they're like, we have to start looking now at the smaller companies because those are the ones that are actually making impact because those are the ones that have to. The bigger ones just keep going, we need money, we need money, we need money, we need money. Nothing's really going on. And what Elon Musk's last evaluation, like 6 billion or 15 billion when he and Trump were dating. I don't know what it is now because they're not, his bond offering. So it's like I said, it just becomes a circle jerk. All these guys just keep reinvesting and reinvest. So if you make a mistake, it's like, don't worry, I'll make it up to you on the next one. Okay. So, but they're not going out and finding, if you will, the little mom and pops that are doing better, more work, and actually have a product that can move the needle forward. They all just want to be like, this is our little club. So when you talk about oligarchs and taxing, it's the same thing. It's the little club. We don't want, and no one can come in. No one's coming into our sphere. We're going to keep everybody out, just our people. And that's where the issues start. You know, where China's, and there's an article last week that talked about China and AI. China is about to surpass the United States in AI. And Vietnam is right behind them. So we are going to be lagging in AI, and China and Vietnam will be passing us probably by the end of the year.
Well, that's a claim that's a bold claim there, Stephen. I don't know that that's.
I'm just the article. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
and China and Vietnam has AI companies.
Which publication put that article out?
It was either the Journal or the FT.
All right. Well,
you gave me a nice
paper.
You gave me a nice segue to something that I'd like to talk about. You said, let's move the needle. What about exactly? What about all this? What about Velvet? Was it Velvet Sundown or whatever it was that you sent me?
The one about AI music.
Yeah, the AI music, which has caused a lot of ripples on the pond over here. I can tell you. Really? Even the BBC were talking about it this morning. Yeah, well, this is what we were afraid of, and it's going to take away, it's going to steal everybody's sandwiches, etc., etc. And I was following this on LinkedIn, and I'd actually replied to quite a few people that sent this thing out, and I said to them, well, that's what I'm doing. I'm 2OF is producing, continuously AI music, and we're calling it AI, and I don't see what all the fuss is about. Oh, because we're not sure if it's AI or not. So they say about Velvet Sundown. Listen to it, because it's AI. Yeah. Look at the way it's presented.
Well, ours especially, we in the description said we may not put it in the title because we have to get clicks, so we get money. But in the description of it, it'll say we generated this through AI. We even give credit to the technology we use. Like, we're very specific, but the title may be like, we have one called Mama's a Rolling Stone, Mommy's a Rolling Stone, Daddy's a Pebble. It doesn't say, it just says big band sound, but when you read it, it all gives credit to the AI. So I think that's part of the issue is people don't understand that we give credit. I think what people are worried about, the article is saying there's a group on Spotify, they've got like 50 million views or some ridiculous number on Spotify, and they produced an album already, and it's all AI. Yeah, it'd be like the three of us getting together, just throwing out lyrics, and we produce an album, and it's killing everybody.
The debate is, well, who's getting the money?
The humans.
That's the debate.
Yeah, the humans are getting it.
Yeah, well, this is saying, but when you go back to the same thing again, it's like, all this AI has probably been trained on the MP3 tracks that they've picked up throughout the whole of the history of music.
Right.
So, what about the original artists? How are they going to get paid? And that's we go round and round in circles. It's a bit like, me trucking up with a tractor while everybody else has, got a horse and a plow. We've moved on. What difference does it make? We just be upfront about it. Yeah. But of course, they've been very clever because nobody knows who these people are. So that's added to, I think we're probably too honest, Stephen, on the channel by saying that it's all AI.
Maybe.
Yeah, seriously, because everybody says, well, who are these people? And who's this and who's that? Well, it's all AI, guys. And if Spotify then they'll probably come out eventually and say, all right, well, we'll have a special tariff for all AI music and we'll pay you considerably less than we pay everybody else.
Why? It's commercials and stuff, and people are listening to. Listen, there must be a market for it, because even on our channel, our AI music, there we have, and I can't. Dusty Hayes, which we made him a black cowboy, a black country and western singer.
Yeah.
When we put out music by Dusty, it explodes. We have rock and roll. We have EM music. We have big band. It all takes off. There's a market for AI music. We're just honest about, we put out AI music and we put it on our channel, and it's under its own playlist under music, and it all says it's AI. And like, we're not saying we did it, but there's a market for it. People want something different, you know. Now, will it make it number one? Will one of our songs or any of these songs be number one globally and be played in a movie one day? Maybe. But that's just the way it goes. And you know, it's really funny when they go, well, what about the original? Okay, who invented the wheel? I don't see their families getting royalties. I mean, seriously, unless you want to be stupid.
No,
so somebody invented the wheel. Why isn't their family getting royalties now for the last 10,000 years about the wheel?
That's great. That's really that's a wonderful argument, Steve. Because you remember I told you about there was a guy in Australia that patented the wheel in Australia because it hadn't been done, and he just did that to show how incompetent the Australian patent office was. So. There's just some things. I mean, the genie's out of the bottle, isn't it? I don't know what everybody's complaining. Oh, these poor musicians and everything else. Well, look, you know, I've been struggling to find somebody who's stupid enough to want to put my lyrics, my poetry that I've been writing to music. Now I found a piece of technology that says, "Hey, thank you very much. We'll have some of that. Oh, we'll make a nice noise of it." And you know, and I'm certainly not alone. That's
the joy. That's the joy of generative AI, is that it'll do whatever you ask of it.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't done everything I've asked of it yet. We're getting there.
There's some laws there that it just won't break. No, but I mean, and that's the interesting thing about AI and Meta and all these companies is that, you know, and there was. The head of Ford Motor Company said this week, and we talked about this last week in Lost and Found. Ford Motor Company said within 2 years, 3 years at most, all. He's kind of caveat and said 50%, but he said under his breath, all white collar jobs at Ford gone.
Yeah,
because of AI.
Yeah.
So consultings, we talked about that last week. So AI is taking all this away. And that's fine, but this is sort of the conversation about UBI last week. It's sort of like, so what do we do? You can't keep saying we're going to teach people skills or we're going to bring you're going to bring manufacturing back. It's going to be a robot. It's going to be AI, not people. What are you going to do with the people? Hence why the big beautiful bill. We're going to kill all the poor people, and if you'll have a robot. It'll do your stuff. It'll do your bidding. That's it.
I saw a thing this week that the guy had been training this robot arm to cut hair, and
I saw that.
That'll probably be 5 to 10 years or so before that's so you know that's another thing that you won't have to do. You know, because they'll be just like a factory. We just wander in and come out the other end all groomed and done and everything. Again, the sports we've been fascinated by that. There was a soccer. Tournament.
The football robots. Did you see that, Michael? The football robots?
I saw that's right. The soccer robots in China.
The football robots,
it was so funny. They fell over and get the stretcher out, put him on, and take him off.
But
it will only be a matter of time, of course. But that will be the normal because people. Well,
that's what everybody says. But you know, there's a futurism.com article talking about the AI hype machine. And how even though people keep saying, well, this is the worst it'll ever be, there's no guarantee that it actually will get better to the point where you can replace humans in the way that people have been talking about.
While we are still amazingly amused by people slapping each other around the face as hard as possible and making that into a big TV spectacular, there's hope for robot athletes. Seriously, because I mean, yeah, I mean, even the very liberal Dutch have finally decided that's probably not the right thing to put on the TV here. There's a big debate about that as well. So,
unfortunately, they said that when Japan was automating, and then they started to bring automation here. They go, "Don't worry, it's not going to replace the 100,000 guys that build cars. Now you're down to 4 guys." Tesla, from what I gather, is all automation. So when people go, "No, it's not going to get," yes, it is going to get worse. You're going to have to figure out what you're going to be able to do. And you have to learn how to use AI, unfortunately. And we've talked about this. You have to learn how to speak to it and use it so it benefits you. So, and they're right. A lot of companies, like I know people that would hire Bain and all these consultants, and now they're like, "Why? I can do an AI." And like you said, now
the numbers are showing it. That's true. Yeah. Accenture's revenue dramatically decreased because of AI.
Yeah, but that's the point. So, a hedge funds now. I talked to the guy yesterday. They've let go 30 people because the AI can find companies. Basically, they give them the parameters and go look, and it can search the whole web in a second instead of having 30 people search and do number. The AI can do it in about 10 seconds and go here. Here's what and it's just as good as the 30 people.
You're just going to need somebody who has a little bit of savvy that kind of sits on top of that project. That's the only thing you need then. So you just have one very well-paid guy who just, because to take out all the ghosting and everything else. But other than that, I mean, my dear old mother used to say, "If you have a dog, why bark yourself?" And that's exactly where we're getting to. So,
Yeah, it's getting
on the dogs.
It's getting worse, I think.
Bring on the dogs.
I don't know. I think it's just going to get worse, Michael. I don't see it benefiting. It'll benefit society if everybody has money, but if you don't have money, you're screwed. Because what are you going to do? There's a hamburger one now that they have. There's a coffee one. There's a French fry one. There's a pizza one. It's like there's a there's a restaurant in Japan where you can go and AI does it all. Like there's no human. I think there's one person just to make sure, like if something goes wrong, but there's no human. So that's where we're getting to.
If it's not being presented to you on a conveyor belt, then there'll be some sort of robot that presents it to you on your table, like in Korea.
Here, I'll help you out. So, there's a sushi restaurant that I go to, and who serves me is a robot. R2D2 brings me my sushi.
Yeah.
And they have about 7 of them that run around the restaurant, and R2D2 comes over to you, and it's on a little tray, and you take it, you put it down, and he goes away, and you order more, and he comes back, and you take it and give him the tray. And so we don't even have waiters and waitresses anymore.
Oh, well, that's one way to eat your dolphin. That's all I can say.
Listen, as long as I get my dolphin, I don't care.
Yeah,
so what else we got, boys? This is exciting. This show, happy 4th of July, America.
That's right. Happy 4th. Happy 4th. Wave the flag.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
Yeah, whatever. 4th of July.
You've got to go back. To me, you've got to go back to basics. You've got to go back to the basics of what it means to be an American.
Back to the Brits. There you go. There's a B in there somewhere. Back
to
the Brits.
Not that far. Not that far.
Doing a lot. 250 years. Blimey, I've got genes older than that. But it's 250 years. What's that for history? You know what I mean? Come on.
Well, it's just a blink. That is true.
Yeah,
that's very true.
Just a blink.
It's been a very meaningful and influential blink.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: because we can go through more of our topics if you want, but what do we think in 2030 is around the corner? It's 5 years, 4.5 years away. What do we think? America's still here the way we think it's America, or is it the new America that the Europeans are worried that are becoming the 1930s? Do we have a king? What do we think America is going to be, Michael? Because you're very patriotic. Because you live in upstate New York, you're very patriotic. Yeah. You guys have got that thing going on, and it's America. So, so what do you guys? What do you think?
There's a good blend of people up here, and I just think that where do I think it'll go? I don't think it'll be nearly as authoritarian as people think it will be, because there will be a rising of the reasonable, an uprising of the reasonable in due time, and it's already at an untenable point. We get hundreds of protesters all throughout upstate New York, where people normally don't protest at all, who are at least saying enough of enough of the authoritarianism, and let's focus on protecting democracy. And there's some legitimacy to that. I don't think that any of these are panaceas or entirely right about everything that they argue about. But I think there's enough of an upwelling of support. There will be enough upwelling of support that we will have an election in 2028, and we will have a rehashing of Americans in some way. That yes, it might come from a hard place, from some hard realizations, but the big beautiful bill I don't think helps that situation. But I think there will be a truly popular uprising against the constriction of the elite power structures.
Okay, I hope you're right. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Now, do we want to talk before we go into Lost and Found, or you can talk about this in Lost and Found? You want to talk about stablecoins' rise of popularity, not only with companies but banks, and how they're all going to now come out with their own coins?
I mean, let's put it in Lost and Found, because that's a big topic that maybe we should cover on another show.
Yeah, well, that's going to be a topic that's going to, I think, be one that's prevalent. There's an article in the FT, and it was saying, and we'll go into more detail. I have something else for Lost and Found. So the 100,000-foot view of this, and we can do this on another show, is that from Visa to JP Morgan to Bank of America to IBM to the Lost Dollar Business Club, everyone now is going to come out with their own coins, and they're going to tie it to whether it's a treasury or gold or whatever it might be, so you can trade them, whatever. And this was bringing me back to like before we had a Federal Reserve, right? There were 40 different banks in America back in the 1800s, and everybody had their own currency. And we're just, I always like when people go, history doesn't repeat itself. History is repeating itself.
Right.
It's just a different, instead of having paper money, we're having digital money, and everybody's going to be able to produce their own digital money.
Yeah, just tokenization. Yeah. Locking people in. Financial serfdom.
Great.
That's what Vicky said.
Like remember what I always said, Wall Street, we're the oldest profession. We'll get your money one way or another, kids. So should we go to Lost and Found on this 4th of July for the fans?
Let's go to 4th of July. Lost and Found.
Let's go Lost and Found.
Ever wonder how millions vanish into thin air, or how a single dollar can make all the difference? Join us on Lost and Found, where we dive into the wild world of financial mysteries. From misplaced fortunes to unexpected windfalls, we unravel the stories of people, companies, organizations, and even governments who've lost and found millions. Lost and Found, because every dollar has a story.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right.
All right, Michael, what do you have? Because you're very patriotic today. It's 4th of July. You're in upstate New York where they're going to have fireworks.
You talked about the finance industry, and America is all about finance now. Something like 20% or 25% of the money is all going into finance. But Citigroup has just spent $9 billion on the past year on a tech overhaul, because they've had all kinds of costly errors, like accidentally wiring more than almost $1 billion to a certain group of creditors, or accidentally crediting one account with $81 trillion after an employee failed to remove zeros from a form, and a copy paste error that almost missent $6 billion. So this kind of thing is happening all the time at Citi, and they are committed to fixing it. The oldest
right after they send you another $81 trillion. David, at some point you need to return the $81 trillion they've called.
You need to do that. So.
Citi, here's the problem with Citi. Go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say, is that a lost or a found? Then that's
depends who gets the $81 trillion.
That's definitely a loss for Citi, though. Although maybe Citi will figure it out.
No, they won't. Here's what's really bad. Citi sucks. They've sucked since the 80s when Sandy Weill left. They have steadily gone downhill. They're the worst bank, right behind JP Morgan. They couldn't get themselves out of a wet paper bag. If you have people making those kind of mistakes, that's why when bankers say 50% of our team is going to be AI, If you're at
That's
Citi,
why.
95% of your team better be AI. Only here just to help Citibank with their little stories today. UBS, Citi, and other banks hit by a $21 million penalty over Singapore money laundering. So Citibank is having lots of trouble, and it's not just wiring $81 trillion out or $6 billion. Seriously, do they not know how to look at zeros? I mean, like, how dumb are you? You know, I don't get it. I'm just saying,
it doesn't work. Yeah.
Well, it's like it's 4th of July, dumb. There you
go. But a fourth grader could literally go, how much are we supposed to send? 81 million? They could count to zeros. So you're trying to tell me someone didn't count to zero? Apparently. And they don't put periods in. The stupidity of the people they have is dumbfounding.
Well, it's not their money, is it? So that's easier.
Technically, no, that is their money. Like if they screw it up and someone goes, I'm not giving you $81 trillion back, Citibank, well, they've got a business, but they'll also be on the hook if the person says, nope, not giving it back, and you send it to
the people that are responsible for looking at how.
Oh no, you mean the person you're paying $25,000 a year to send wires out? You're right. They don't give a crap. They're like, yeah, clicky, whatever, clicky, whatever, clicky, whatever. But you're trying to tell me that there's nobody that has checks and balances?
Nope.
Like almost 6 billion, 81 trillion. Some, you know what I mean? It's like there's no check. It's just like, yeah, go ahead, push a button.
Yeah. Well, pay peanuts, get monkeys. Crazy. That's how it works. It's. I
don't know.
Oh, what's a couple of zeros between friends? Eh?
It's good to know. I'll remember that next time you send me money. Okay, so let me do mine because David's probably going to show pictures.
What do you got?
Here's this I thought was interesting. This was in the FT on the July 2nd. It says Pakistan pitches Nobel Peace Prize to Uncle Donnie, crypto, rare earth to woo the Donnie. Pakistan is pitching itself as the Bitcoin mining hub and a source of rare earth materials, offering its support for a Nobel Peace Prize for Donald Trump, as the cash-strapped Hezbollah is seeking to have hefty trade with the White House. And the article goes on to saying they're trying to entice Uncle Donnie with as much, basically they're playing to his ego. Like come here and do crypto. We'll put you up for the Nobel Peace Prize. We'll do this. We'll do that. Yeah, playing to the king. I just found it fascinating. The article goes on to say a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm just chuckling all the way, thinking, not stupid. They know what they're doing. So,
the thing about it is that they will actually have to have Mark Rutte's head surgically removed from Mr. Trump's asshole first before they can stick their own head in. So, because he's well and truly up there. So, Mark Rutte, for all those people who don't know, is the chairman of NATO, and apparently Donald Trump's his daddy. So, hey, it's all fun at the fair. So, Pakistan, give us your money.
Hey, now listen, I was on the cigar show. One of our hosts is from Pakistan. So,
No, it's not.
You gotta suck up.
Somebody's got to live there.
Yeah, there you
go. Well, I thought I'd finish the show on. I got a little ditty. I thought I'd finish the show on something which everybody hates. Everybody hates is washing and ironing. So I found this, which should help us all. Certainly on the 1st of July, when you want to go out and have a few of the old ginger beers, and don't want to be home doing the washing. So everybody may or may not need this particular apparatus. We're not sponsored by it. We're not being paid by it, but it made me chuckle. There you
Unbelievable.
Go.
So the people on the podcast, basically they have those in hotels.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are saying that Siemens had them in the 1980s, but some
Oh.
American gentlemen who probably thought, oh, there's a patent lying around and I can buy for nothing, and probably wasn't Mr. Musk. It's got this little machine, and for people who hate washing and ironing, that's the way to go. And
my robot does that though, David.
He's making a lot of money doing it. So there you go.
All right. Very nice. Is that it? That's your lost and found?
That's my lost and found. Yeah, been a tough week. Yeah, I mean, how do you trump Trump? That's what I'm saying. So
the big beautiful bill. There you go.
Well, yeah, I think we should start selling T-shirts that says "Big, I'm the big beautiful William." You see,
put them in the merch store to see if anybody buys one.
Yeah.
So should have some anyway, kid. Happy 4th of July if you're watching the show live. If you're watching it on July 5th, happy 4th of July +1. Hopefully, in 250 years, America will still be here. And if not, the aliens have taken over, and so is AI. Don't forget to subscribe and like. And Michael, we have any guests coming up anytime soon, or is it just us?
Well, we've always got Anthony at the end of the month.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We have a few weeks of us. So next week is just us again. Sorry, guys. And then last week's show was Guy Standing with Anthony, and they did a whole show on UBI, which is doing very well. So if you're curious in that, feel free to reach out there. Catch us wherever you get your podcasts, or wherever, if you want to look at our faces, why I have no idea. Catch us here on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like. And to America, have a wonderful 4th of July, and be safe, everybody, and to the rest of the world.
And it's well worth listening to. I actually wasn't on the show last week. I listened to the show. Absolutely fascinating. So
which one?
The UBI one with Anthony and that was really interesting.
It was a good show. Yeah,
shared it with a few people, and they said, "Oh wow, no, I understand a little bit more." So
wow,
worth the listen.
Our show, somebody understood something. Well, that's it. We're done.
No, I suppose it's our gift to the 4th of July. There you go.
Oh God, there you go. All right, kids. Hey, everybody, have a happy, healthy 4th. Good luck. Spend time with your family. We'll see you all next week. And that's it. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Cheers, everybody.
Bye-bye.